Hey guys, in today's video, I'll talk about how to become a go-to-market engineer, and specifically this is in response to a message that I got from one of the students inside of our community, specifically over here saying that he's looking for go-to-market engineering roles, but sometimes the descriptions for the requirements are super overwhelming. Do these kind of companies that are hiring for go-to-market engineers, are they looking for salespeople? Are they looking for really technical people that are engineers? And this video is basically just prompted by that specific message because I wanted to clarify all of that for you. Now, I will start off by talking about what is a go-to-market engineer. Then after that, we'll talk about the different career pathways that you can take as a go-to-market engineer, and then covering the earning potential with all the insights that I have about the salary ranges that you can be expecting to see at different stages of your journey. And then we'll wrap up by talking about what skills you actually need, both the soft skills, the prerequisites, and the technical skills. And then finally, we'll then talk about how to land the go-to-market engineering job using a 3-step process that I came up with earlier. And to top it all off, we'll then talk about what employers look for in go-to-market engineers, just so that in advance you can understand that specific checklist and you can keep that in the back of your mind when you're trying to impress the hiring manager for all of these fancy job roles. So without further ado, at this moment in time, you're probably wondering, why would you listen to me out of all people for this? In simple terms, if you don't know me just yet, my name is Tim. I run a program called Unlock Clay, which teaches over 200 students right now how to learn Clay from start to finish. And more than that, we're one of the first UK-based certified Clay experts, meaning that Clay trusts us to work with a bunch of their enterprise accounts, to work with a bunch of their companies that are trying to adopt their software. And in the process of service delivery, a lot of the time we interview go-to-market engineers as potential new hires for our business. So in a nutshell, I went through trial and error, trying to upskill myself to become like a really good go-to-market engineer, ended up opening my own agency instead. And in order to be able to provide you with the best bit of advice, I'm just going to go and kick off by talking about what the hell is a go-to-market engineer in the first place, because I think this is a really confusing word in itself. Now, the way I see the go-to-market engineer role is basically just the backbone of your sales process. It's typically going to be a person that just designs, builds, optimizes all sorts of your sales systems for generating leads, both inbound and outbound. Needless to say, it will be technical. The whole idea behind hiring a go-to-market engineer is so that they can automate like tens of thousands of messages, emails. They can integrate your existing tools and also adopt new tools for your business. So for example, Clay and a bunch of other like fancy tools like SmartLead or NA10 or Make.com, some of these tools that you see on LinkedIn posts, but you still have no idea how to actually implement them for your business, how to find the use case. This is where the go-to-market engineer comes in. And the main unique selling point of this role, the way I see it, is that it blends the sales acumen of someone that's been in sales demos before, someone that has high EQ, so high emotional intelligence, and more than that, they also have the technical skill set that enables them to actually understand how they can put on steroids and how they can automate a bunch of this tedious manual work. That's why, in my opinion, one go-to-market engineer will probably get paid the same as 2 or 3 sales reps. Right now and in the future, you can only compound and get more and more as you become a better go-to-market engineer as well. So at this moment in time, there are 4 main ways that I see your career planning out as a go-to-market engineer. The most obvious way, which will probably be like the most desired option for most people, is building your own agency. I personally would say that this is the highest downside risk because, of course, it requires a lot of time. It requires quite a bit of money probably to start off your own agency, but then it's also a high upside return. That's one of the career pathways. Of course, on top of that, you have the option of becoming a freelancer first, where you work with a bunch of clients. I've done a separate video on that. Not going to dive into too much detail here. We also have another option where you can secure just a full-time role, and this will be like a main emphasis in this case about this video of how you can secure a full-time role at a company, which is trying to adapt to the new digital AI age of sales and all that fun stuff. And we'll be talking about how you can secure that full-time role as a go-to-market engineer. And then finally, you can just excel as a sales rep, because a lot of sales reps are still doing tasks manually. Before a meeting, they go to the LinkedIn profiles of the people. They scroll down. They have to copy and paste text from there. All of this kind of stuff, as you probably already know, can be automated using a tool like Clay. And it'll take you just a couple of minutes to do that, right? So the earning potential, once again, I absolutely hate to talk about like the money side of things, these types of videos, but entry-level roles probably start about $2,000. Now, that's assuming that you are an actual go-to-market engineer. You're not just like a lead list builder for the business. So essentially, half decent engineers, the way that I see it, will start at $2,000. And that's what I would always start go-to-market engineers with for the time being. So I always would start the salary at $2,000, and to get better and better, that's when you transition to basically bumping up the salary somewhere in the range of $3,000 to $4,000. And this is also depending on how much impact they drive for the company, how much new revenue they drive for the company, how much servicing they're delivering, so like how many clients are they servicing at the same time and so on. But in a nutshell, it probably ranges between $2,000 to start with to $3,000 when they're getting like really, really good. And on top of that, of course, as with most other roles out there, if they're in the top 10 percentile, they will be earning upwards of $5,000 a month. And once again, this just depends, and you really need, like, it really depends on the context. This is just like a rough idea for you to have a rough idea of the numbers. Now, at this moment in time, you're probably wondering what skills do you actually need to become a go-to-market engineer. So I'll walk you through the prerequisites, which I will think of as hygiene factors. And if you don't have those, these will mean that perhaps it'll be a bit trickier to kickstart a career as a go-to-market engineer. And I'll talk briefly about the technical skill set, because I think a lot of the time it's overcomplicated in most cases. So the prerequisites in my eyes are, first of all, that you're either technical or you simply have the patience to go through trial and error figuring out new softwares. And if I'm totally honest with you, back when I started learning Clay, probably like 18 months ago, 2 years ago maybe, I had no clue what the hell I was doing. It's literally trial and error. And with a lot of these types of softwares that are really complex, it's a matter of logging in, a matter of watching a bunch of random YouTube videos, going through trial and error, reaching out to the customer support team. And if you can do that for a couple of hours, I guarantee you, you're going to get pretty good at other fancy stuff that we'll talk about later on in the video. So that's the first thing. You either are already technical, or you simply make up for the lack of technical skills by just going through trial and error and just literally just being able to do that for hours until you figure it out yourself, right? Now, the second thing, which is super underrated in my eyes, and this screens out 99% of applicants for go-to-market engineering roles, is the clarity of speaking. A lot of the time, I ask candidates to record a Loom video as the first step of the interview process. And trust me, after that stage, that probably screens out of 30 candidates, probably 28 of them. And I only need to listen to the first 5 or 10 seconds because it's two simple things that I look for. The first thing is the ability of them to actually speak where it's super, super clear what they're saying, because a lot of the time, as you know, when we're hiring from all sorts of other countries, there could be a thicker accent, which makes it completely impossible to understand what the person is saying. And of course, I don't mean to be offensive here, but clarity of speaking is like a really, really big criteria. And this like a very low-key, unique selling point that you probably didn't even know that existed for you right now. And then secondly, on top of that, it's just the fact that a lot of the time, when someone is enthusiastic at the start of that video, that already tells me that they care about this role. They're going to be passionate. And make sure that your eyes absolutely light up when you start recording that Loom video of whatever someone asked for during that interview process. So that's the clarity of speaking piece. Now, next up, we're going to talk about the ability to break down complicated techie things into a digestible format. Now, what do I mean by that? A lot of the time, there will be topics that you're trying to explain to your colleagues inside of a company, and you would really need to oversimplify things for them. Because don't forget, a lot of the time, the people that you're working with, they will be decades behind. They would not understand what an API is, or what ChatGPT is, or anything of that sort. So in those cases, you really need to make it super dummy proof. So I'll give you an example here. I did this video on LinkedIn Sales Navigator this week. And the first thing that I wanted to clear out is to basically just branch out everything so that it's super, super clear and like visual. I'm explaining it to the students. So in this case, it's just basically just dragging the boxes and saying, hey, it's as simple as you have an input, which is LinkedIn Sales Navigator, and then you have the output, which is just like the actions that you can perform with this data, like sending emails, finding phone numbers and calling people and sending them LinkedIn messages. And this is the oversimplification that you need to be very, very passionate about and really good about in order to become a good go-to-market engineer. Because I think otherwise you will just explain things in a super technical, nerdy, geeky way, and it will resonate with technical people like yourself, but it wouldn't resonate with anyone else. So it's super, super important. And I do think that the soft skills here are probably equally as important as the technical skills, right? Which is needless to say once again. Next up, super, super important is understanding the use cases before building something or before proposing to build something. And this is one thing that I notice all the time. A lot of the time, I used to post a lot of opportunities on the Clay Slack community where I'm saying, hey guys, I need someone to build out 5 Clay tables for this specific client. I'm lacking bandwidth right now. Could someone help me out? In that case, I got flooded with messages with everyone just jumping straight in, just like sending me like whatever their rates and so on. But very little amount of people actually understand the use case before building. And what I mean by that, a lot of the time, it's just understanding what the company is already doing manually. So for example, how do you currently research leads before the first sales call, right? So you go on LinkedIn, you go on their websites, you go on all of these places, and only after you know what the manual process is, and only after you ask them, like, hey, last time you generated revenue, how did you do that? Like, what was the manual process behind it? And then you can automate it. But a lot of the time, what I find with go-to-market engineers right now is that they just build a really fancy AI workflow inside of Clay. They flex it on their LinkedIn post, only to then realize that, like, hey, this looks really cool on a LinkedIn post, but it doesn't actually give you any tangible ROI. So this is one thing that I can't stress enough, that a lot of the time it's just a matter of interviewing the client or interviewing like whoever the hiring manager is or whoever it is, and something that we'll talk about later on in the video, and understanding what the headaches are and understanding what they currently do manually already that brings them good ROI. And on the basis of that, that's where you apply automation. This is where you show them how they can put this on steroids. Not doing like fancy other automations that you've seen before from other LinkedIn gurus, right? That's that. Next up, structure. And once again, if you're inside of the Unlock Clay course already, you would know how big I am on just breaking everything down in like 5-step processes. So if it's mapping out your total addressable market, you should have a 5-step process, right? So you identify the source of where you find the leads from, you then filter for the data, then you export the data, then you qualify it, and then you enrich it, for example, right? Something like that. And you should have a 5-step process for absolutely everything that you're doing right now inside of your agency in order to do that kind of outbound. So that's that. And then finally, understanding the use cases. I think we talked about that briefly already. Next up, we're going to talk about technical skills. So I think this, once again, is just a lot more common sense, and you would have heard all of this before. First of all, you need to know Clay. Clay is going to be the future. Everyone knows that. Like, I think it's super obvious if you're watching this video, and if you watch this far, I'm sure we agree on that. Secondly, only learn Make or NA10. Don't bother learning both because it's absolutely pointless in my eyes. They both do the exact same thing. There's no point in knowing both, in my opinion. It's just an overkill, right? Next up, data scraping. And with data scraping, you basically need it to be able to scrape company lists and people lists in super simple terms. And if I were you, I would drop ship the knowledge for data scraping. So in other words, don't just learn how to scrape every type of website, because that's a pointless skill to have. But rather, when there is a demand for you scraping a specific database, only at that point go and figure out how to use Phantom Buster. Because it's super simple. It will take you 5 or 10 minutes rather than front-loading the learning. Just basically figure out what you need to do, and only after that go and actually learn how to do it. Because otherwise you're just going to overthink, overlearn, and then you're not even going to have time to practice. For that, durability, once again, people overcomplicate it quite a lot. Is basically just buying a bunch of random domains, warming them up, and that's basically it. Durability, I think, it's not that complicated if you're taught it the right way, like we're teaching inside of Unlock Clay already. But in simple terms, it's a super important technical skill that you need to be pretty good at as a go-to-market engineer. On top of that, using GPTs, and specifically if I click here, I'll show you what GPTs I already use. So for example, on my screen right now, you can see the make.com GPT. And in simple terms, whenever you're trying to automate something with make.com, you can literally ask it how you would do that. So you'll say, hey, I want to automate my client onboarding. The trigger is a form submission, and the action is sending an invoice. How do I do it? Right? And in simple terms, this make.com GPT actually shows you step by step how you can build this out. And of course, this will require a bit of trial and error. But once again, go use these custom GPTs. Go save them. This only costs you $20 a month for all the different GPTs. And they will teach you how to do this, right? Like, it literally shows you, hey, you would probably need to use Typeform or Jotform or Google Forms or whatever. And it tells you step by step how you would do it. And more than that, you can even upload a screenshot of the make scenario, or the NA10, whatever you call it, like the NA10 flows. And straight away, they will teach you like where you went wrong and how you can go about it. And same for Clay as well. So I'm not sure if you know this, but there is this Clay GPT by Thomas Kalitzis, and it's a pretty good GPT because you can literally ask it, like, I think it knows all the different enrichments. So you can say something like, how can I find companies hiring for roles? And straight away, voila, it should then give you a couple of options after searching the knowledge base. This way, for example, here, it just gives you a quick breakdown of how you do that. And this is essentially the same knowledge as you would get if you were to ask me manually, right? I think that's quite a big piece of the technical skill set, being able to basically just find the right GPTs and ask it the right questions at the right time, and then it will just show you how to do it. And then you can upload screenshots of whatever errors you're getting throughout that process, and the GPT basically iterates and helps you with that. Copywriting, another piece, we cover that inside of the Unlock Clay course already, so I wouldn't touch on that in too much detail, but once again, you should be pretty sharp when it comes to copywriting. You would probably be using a lot of GPTs for that. And there are a couple of really cool people to follow when it comes to copywriting. For example, there is this guy called Josh Brown. He's super, super good. Like, his free content is really good. So if I were you, just go check out. He's got a bunch of like copywriting articles on his website here, and you can just get them completely for free. Which I think like that's someone I look up to in the industry as well right now. So moving on, aside from all of that stuff, the next question is, how do you actually land a go-to-market engineering job? And in super simple terms, I think there are a couple of ways that you can go about it. If you're looking to go at the outbound way of where you proactively go after companies that are hiring for these roles, you can just simply get notified when companies are hiring for roles that require any sort of Clay skill sets. And what I mean by that, it's a super simple setup. Inside of a normal Clay table, all you're going to do is just click on, where is it? Find jobs over here on the left side of the screen. And then at that moment in time, you can just type in any sort of role that you're looking for. So let's say like go-to-market engineer. Or you can do like sales, business development, whatever. And the key thing that you're looking for, if you click on job description, you're looking at the keyword to be Clay, right? Now, what you're going to do straight after is we're going to limit it to one job per company. We'll look for 50 jobs. We'll click on preview jobs here as well. And at this moment in time, it will basically give you a preview of a bunch of jobs of companies that are hiring for Clay right now over here. Of course, you can filter based on locations. You can go as exotic as Belgium over here, or you can go like for America or any sort of other market, and you just import them to the table completely for free. It doesn't cost you any Clay credits in the process. What you can then do is over here, just run this source on a schedule. So you can do this every single day and click on update source schedule over here. And you can add an enrichment to as Slack and then send a message to a channel, which in this case will basically notify you every single time when a new company is hiring for a Clay role. You'll be notified inside of Slack. And this is just a super quick workflow. More than that, you can fully automate the outreach to the hiring stakeholders of these companies, that as soon as they post the role, they will be hit up with your resume and a Loom video about your favorite Clay workflow or something funky like that. And if you want to learn how to do that, I've actually got a video which we did in collaboration with HeyReach, which I'm still waiting to publish because their editor should edit it first. But if you want to hit me up, I will. If you message me on LinkedIn or WhatsApp or wherever you have me already, then by all means I'll share it with you as soon as it's out, and it will show you how you can basically how you can automatically react to those job postings in real time. That's one way to do it, by getting notified when companies are hiring for Clay roles. Or alternatively, another angle that you can approach this with is you could just reach out to the hiring manager and say, hey, I noticed the mention of Clay in this job description. I think I'm the right kind of candidate for this like GTM role. And I just want to just have a quick call where, a quick interview whereby I can offer you a free Clay table build out, or I can just explore some Clay use cases so that when you do hire the right person, that they have a couple of use cases in mind that they can implement straight away. On top of that, if you don't really want to do outbound, and if you're keen on, doing a lot more inbound stuff, which I think should be, that there is an argument to be made for that as well, I would do it via content. And one person I actually whose profile I checked out recently and I was really impressed with was Tom. And I think Tom actually went through the Unlock Clay course, or maybe not. Maybe I'm mistaking him for someone else. But I've just noticed that in the past month, he's been posting literally every single day. And you can see like these tutorial videos about with pretty good hooks and so on. And as long as you do this and you post every single day or you post every second day something Clay related, I guarantee you it's a matter of time until someone comes inbound to you and says, hey, do you just want to work for us? Because we need someone like you that's proactive, someone that's, can find the discipline to post every single day. That's probably that's symptomatic of them being really, really good at their job and being passionate about Clay. So this is another cool thing to do. And for that, I just think you have to be super high energy in those kind of videos that you record. And you also have to guide them through from start to finish, assuming that they completely have zero knowledge of whatever the hell is happening inside of Clay already. And this would work best to get a job or any sort of gig at a Clay agency, so at a Clay agency, in my opinion. Now, this is just the start of how you generate demand and how you book in some of these interviews. Before each interview, as always, I would recommend to research the 4 Ps, which is the persona. So who does the company sell to? The products, So what the hell are you selling? Well, like, what the hell is that company selling? The process? What's the team composition? How many sales reps is it? How big's the company? What were the recent posts about the founders? Do they have any like recent mentions about funding or something of that sort? That's important as well. And then finally, what pain points do they solve for their customers? Because if you know these four things, you can generate messaging, you're super prepared for the call, you can even name drop their products or something of that sort. I think that could be really, really useful. You will definitely do better than 8 out of 10 candidates if you just know these things before the interview. Now, during the actual interview, I assume that like the first thing to get out of the way, especially with go-to-market engineer roles, when I had my first meetings with some of these candidates that I'm talking about, 9 out of 10 had like a really scrappy background, and there was so much noise, and like you could just tell that they're not in a professional enough setting. And so that makes you wonder from the first minute of the call, are they the right fit for the role? So just make sure you're in a quiet space, make sure you have a good Wi-Fi connection. Professional background, honestly, I don't need to be telling you this, it's just common sense most of the time. And this is the other thing that I want you to really care about, which is asking for what the company is struggling with right now. So during the interview, of course, they're going to ask you questions throughout, but when they give you the opportunity to ask them questions back, just say, hey, what's a headache in the sales team right now? What's being done manually? Or what's the most annoying thing that you as a sales rep do on a daily basis right now that is super, super tedious, annoying, and repetitive? And make a note of these headaches and just try to resonate with it. So be like, oh yeah, like honestly, this is such a nightmare. Like I wish I could think of a solution about it. And just like plant that seed for like you thinking of a solution about it. Because guess what? After the interview, what I want you to do is just spend 10 minutes trying to mock up on a mirror board how you will automate these headaches. So 99% of the stuff that sales teams do manually right now can be automated using via scraping. So scraping a website and extracting data automatically, either through like a simple Zapier of like, hey, the trigger is this and the action is this, right? Like if this happens, then this happens. For example, if a meeting gets booked, we will then automatically go and enrich the LinkedIn profile of the person, we'll grab their domain, we'll go scrape their website. And the same thing with a Clayagent. Clayagent can probably do 80% of what sales reps spend hours doing every single day. And this is what you're going to then send across to the hiring manager or whoever you had the chance to speak to. So send them a follow-up message, send them a Loom video, send them like a thank you note. I don't really mind what it is, but send that with like a mirror board. And if you send a Loom video, mocking up saying, hey, remember those 3 headaches that you mentioned? I just played around with a couple of automation tools and I think we can pull this off. And here are 4 steps that we will need to do that. Like if you want, I can set this up for you like, I don't know, next week or something like that. No strings attached, just because like I love Clay. Something of that sort. I guarantee you you're going to stand out. Even if you don't land the gig, you will already learn a new skill. You'd have someone that speaks highly of you already and someone that you could, potentially rely on for referrals and everything down the line. And I think this is like a really good way to do that. And of course, if you're in doubt throughout, you can just go and ask the Clay GPT or the Make GPT. And this is actually something that stood out in the interview process when I hired Camille for the role at B2B Boosted. Those of you that don't know, Camille joined me probably a couple of months ago now. And he's been great because during that interview process, straight after the first meeting that we had, he sent me like a book summary because we were talking about like scaling agencies and that kind of thing. That got me thinking, hey, this is the kind of person I want to work with because he's proactive, he goes above and beyond. It's not just doing an interview for the sake of, getting a job. It's, you're trying to add value to the hiring stakeholders as well. Now, a couple of final things before we go. The first thing is, what do employers look for in go-to-market engineers, right? And in simple terms, I think for agency employers, most employers don't want to spend more than $3K on a salary for an entry-level go-to-market engineer. Me personally, I always would start at $2,000 and then I'll progressively increase it, assuming that I'm happy with the person's work, right? And the second thing that most people strive for is having the right balance between the person being articulate, super clear in their speaking, and then at the same time yet balancing that out with being very low-key, nerdy, and technical. Because it's a very hard balance to strive for. And I think it's really, really important that they basically, in simple terms, you can trust the person with clients and to be in a customer-facing role, but at the same time, you know that deep down, they'd rather be there inside of the clay tables, in the trenches, just building out those outbound workflows for you. So I think these 2 things are super important. And then the other thing that I came across before is whenever I used freelancers for this type of work, most of the time, you would always stumble across little hurdles or challenges where something is not working, something is not right. And the real difference is Do you bring it as a problem to me and you complain and we spend hours trying to figure this out together? Or do you just come with a solution saying, hey, we faced these 6 challenges along the way, but don't worry, I sorted it, here it out. And I think if you basically always try and just come with a solution instead of a problem, and once again, another super, like, this is needless to say, this is absolute common sense, but this will make you stand out because 99% of people are not that way. And then finally, enthusiasm. I cannot stress this enough, because from any video that you watch with me, I'd like to say that I'm relatively enthusiastic, or I'm above the baseline of enthusiasm typically, right? So I would say just be enthusiastic in every encounter. Like, they almost need to think that you had like a can of Red Bull before every interaction that they have with you, right? That's my kind of baseline for enthusiasm. And then finally, direct employers, honestly, it will be a bit different, I guess. I've spoken to quite a few companies that are currently looking for go-to-market engineers, and the general sense that I'm getting is they want to get someone in who understands how to find the business use cases for all of these funky automations, because the employers themselves don't know what they're looking for. Most of the time, they just want to adapt to the AI age, adapt to the digital age, but they don't know how Clay works. So you, as the expert, as the go-to-market engineer, you are the person that they're going to trust to do this. So the number one thing that I think is super important is to even just understand what the business does, to understand what the Clay use cases are, what the AI use cases are, and merge the two. So just understanding the business use case is going to be like a third of your job. Then the second thing is independence. You need to be biased towards action. I talked about this quite a lot already, but you need to just have that mentality of like, hey, screw it, I'll just go above and beyond and I'll do this. Because a lot of the time when you're going to work for direct employers, they're not going to be able to tell the difference between an API and a webhook. They're not going to be there to rescue you on that side. It's completely on you to learn. And that's how you then progress from like the entry level to promotions and everything else down the line. Passion and enthusiasm we talked about as well. Now, of course, I talked about before the interview, during the interview, and after the interview what to do. But in the meantime, I hope this was really useful for you to become a go-to-market engineer. If you found this useful, please give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time. And on top of that, as always, let me just mention one thing. If you want to learn the majority of the things that I mentioned, specifically related to Clay, all you need to do is just go to unlockclay.com, and I'll teach you everything that I know about Clay. And as I learn new things, I will add new content to the course. And if you request someone did over here, I will do a video, because this is something that I find really, really useful. And this is something that I wish I had for myself a couple of years back when I stumbled across all these automations and stuff, but I had no one to really look up to, like not many people that posted about this kind of thing. So if you want to check it out, and if you want to join our community where like people on a daily basis talk about like ways to scrape competitors' followers and all that fun stuff, by all means, just go to unlockclay.com, try us out. It's the cheapest course in the market. It only costs £100, comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. It's got over 120, 150 testimonials by now. I'm honestly I'm about to lose count. And I hope this video was useful. Other than that, I'm off to building Clay tables. Have a good one. Chat soon. Cheers.